I am a scientist. Originally, I'm a mathematician, and I was doing some stuff in physics, but then somehow switched to biology, and I was also doing wet lab stuff, but recently, like 5 or 7 years ago, I went deep into bioinformatics, and my talk will be very simple and with a lot of useful information for the personal usage. So it's about microbiome, and right now we know that something like 100 trillion microbes live inside the gut of every human. That's comparing to numbers that John showed. That's something like 1 order of magnitude more. And why do I use these plush toys? That's just to show that they are more friendly, than enemies, because also in the culture we have this idea that bacteria are not so good. Actually, these are good guys, and also to make a tribute to them, we normally say hello. Well, let's say, what's a gut microbiome? At the biological level, microbiome is just a collection of microorganisms. And right now, they say that it's like a new organ of a human body. I mean, it existed always, but we just now start to treat it and to talk about it as about the new whole organ. And if we look at that organ from the molecular biology perspective, that's probably the only organ capable of substantial genetic changes through individual lifetime, and I will show you some examples. One thing which, and also I wanted to build up my talk that's like the slides are communicating some of the ideas which are maybe easy, maybe not to communicate with others, and these are really dense ideas, and I would be really interested if I find a partner from the artist side who will be so generous so that we think of how to communicate these ideas through art. And that's the story about multicellular life. We are multicellular organisms, we have organs, we have many cells, but since the first multicellular organisms appeared, the main organ of their body was actually the gut. And since the very first gut, it was populated with microbes already there. And actually, the microbes there were already doing something. And if we view from the evolutionary perspective, then actually the microbes, they played a substantial role in our development. So actually the living beings as we see them, they have developed like this in part due to microbes who who didn't really change so much from that time the multicellular life appeared. And also from this perspective, as the first brains appeared, these were like sensors or something. These were just rudimentary organs which would bring the gut closer to the food or to mating or something. So finally our ability to create art and perceive art, it actually appeared from the fact that we needed to eat something, run around and mate with some beautiful partners. This is a very new topic about the microbiome, and some of the more classical scientists who are present here, they don't even believe in the topic, as I realized recently. But let's say in science we have a really nice metric is the number of papers published, how many people are talking about that. This could also be a faulty metric, but let's say for the last 10 years we have like more than 1,000 papers coming out every year, and many of them are for the combinations of words like microbiome and disease, microbiome and cancer, microbiome and immunity. So it's a really impactful topic. The story of this topic actually started somewhere around 2007, and it was the study of United States population. They have this situation which was like epidemics of obesity. From 1990s, like being more green here actually means that people are becoming more and more obese. Like in 18 years, the obesity levels, and these are diagnosed obesity, from the clinician reached to up to 30% in some states. And actually the food in these 18 years didn't change so much. The calorie intake didn't change so much. And one of the hypotheses, which is being developed through the studies, is that microbiome played its part. And what was the role? That's part of the good microbes, which are responsible for like positive digestion of this caloric intake, were destroyed by the chemicals that we are using in food. And there's a picture of that different livestock and the molecule. That's actually what they do now in the food production. If you add a little bit antibiotic, and antibiotic is just the stuff which kills the bacteria. If you add a little bit antibiotic to the food of the animal, or you inject into that, then the bacteria of the animal, they die a little bit, and it becomes more fat. Yeah, and since we are selling the food, for us it's really nice that the weight is gaining more. Yeah, something like 30% more weight you can get for the animal. Yeah, but actually it appears that when you eat this animal, there is the dosage of antibiotic which is still there, yeah, and you cannot detect it through all those tests which different FDAs and regulatory organs do. Yeah, and you have the same effect. You also become the same fat livestock as the one you've eaten because you have the same antibiotics there. You want to?
There's a lot of experimental evidence that suggests that the depletion of microbiome has no effect on weight loss, on weight gain. If anything, has an effect on weight loss. You get leaner animals without microbiome.
Yeah, as I told you, the topic has really good place for discussion, for arguments, and in science we both can provide arguments. Maybe that's also a place for the artists to come in and to display that. Yeah, some old thought of only genetic school is attacking the young school of the microbiome. Yeah, how can you display it? Maybe with the jumping robots on something like that. Yeah, that's already a piece of art. Yeah, thank you for the valuable comment. Yeah, I'm not in a way. Okay. Yeah, I have something to say, but my English is a little bit poor. Okay. The graphics here is very interesting. On the top, you see the increase in the income of population. Yeah, it's the same graphics, three of them. And also increase of the intake of meat, empty calories, these are like sweets and alcohol, and total increase of the dietary calories. Yeah, and there are different like countries. The best economic group was, it was 1961, already had a good income and good meat consumption, but by 2009 it all increased. And basically what is communicated here, that since we earn more money, we eat more meat everywhere except probably India because they don't eat meat. Yeah, we take more calories as we earn more money, and we take more empty calories as we earn more money. And for example, in China, this led to like a very surprising effect because probably people in China never had like some high level of calories. And they never had the genetic selection for the diabetes. So this is probably the first time Chinese population had a chance to get so many calories, and they have like very early diabetes onset. This is around 30 years, which is, I mean, because they have such special genes that they cannot control that. The other story between that, I don't know, this is already, I think, an artistic project. That's a project Happy Meal. I think you can still find it on the web. That's day 137 of the project. And to my mind, this basically looks the same as it normally looks on the day one. Yeah, not so many changes. And that's also a nice concept. If it doesn't really change, this basically means that normally products, they rot because bacteria and fungi, they eat the products. Yeah, if you leave them on the table, yeah, they disappear in a while. Yeah, so day 137, nobody ate the fries, pommes, as they say here, and hamburger. Why? Because there is something inside there which prevents from eating. Yeah. The first assumption was that there are some chemicals there, but then the McDonald's tried to defend its products and it just said that it's just a high concentration of salts. Yeah, but anyway, yeah, bacteria don't eat that. And basically, if you eat that, your bacteria are no different from the outside bacteria. They don't really like that, yeah, as well. And this is okay, an extreme example, but this basically shows that the commercial production of food, everything which is packed or everything which doesn't spoil when it's on open air, that's quite harmful for our like inner inhabitants, and probably it's hard to find a human who never met these impacts of the industrial production, or you should go somewhere very far. One more story about that. That's actually a typical Russian cultural fairy tale. That's called, I mean, the name of this guy, that's actually a wash bin with the towels instead of hands. And it's chasing the little guy who's very dirty, and he makes him really clean himself. And was like a whole cultural stuff that you should be very clean, wash your hands, very clean, everything clean. And out of that, there is a hygiene theory. And it says that probably due to obsession of being hygienic, yeah, okay, like 100 years ago, this hygiene saved us from many infectious diseases. But now, being obsessed with hygiene, this created the situation where we don't meet like anything like dirt, or kids are very clean, and the result of that is actually that in Europe, for example, they have a lot of allergies, food intolerances, and that's like growing field over there. Now I wanted to show some video. Maybe Arno, you can fix the sound. We especially went, I mean, this is basically Russia, and we went to that part of Russia. That's it's called Yamal, and it's like 4 times more than the Netherlands, for example. What do you want to do? I have a video. I just click it on, yeah, and I have it on YouTube with good quality. And it's like we lived with the deer hunters for a couple of weeks, and it's 300 kilometers with a straight line to the closest city, and we traveled through the river, which is like really always zigzagging over there, and it took us like 24 hours to get there by the motorboat. And that's just a Yeah, and probably these are the last places on the earth like this where people have not encountered the production of food by the industry. Yeah, I mean, when we arrived to some like location where we could land a helicopter over there, guys came with a helicopter, and I think for 3 or 4 hours we were searching for those guys where they stand with the deers, because I mean, you fly out and everything is green and you don't even know where to go. So they only eat deers. They have, like, for a family of 14 people, they have something like 1,000 deers. They never count. And they also eat berries. It's very nice that they have permafrost there, and if you dig something like 1 meter down, if you dig the hole, you can actually hold the products there. Now they don't hold meat there in August because it's a little bit warmer than normal and meat gets spoiled. But the berries, they collect the berries through the summer, they put it there, and there's like a fridge. They have mushrooms there, but actually deers are very picky at mushrooms. Yeah, so they never get mushrooms unless the mushrooms are somewhere on little island inside the lake, and they got some fish. Yeah, they also managed to get some flour and they cook some bread, but it's like little impact of the Western diet, let's say. And the main guy, he's 67 with a good eyesight, very strong. He actually looks like a bear, and he has all his own teeth. I mean, the main idea about those guys, it was hard to find them initially, to find this group, because most of the local population got drunk, or like they are drunkies, because also some genetic predispositions, so if they start drinking, they die out. So with these people, we actually stayed with them. We made a documentary, which is coming out, I think, in September. And we also sampled all the microbes everywhere around, from skin, from fish. I mean, like, we couldn't do the normal stuff, which you give the container to the patient and he brings you feces. These guys were like too tough for that. You cannot give them, I mean, we gave them the containers, but I found all those containers somewhere around, yeah. Like, it was like too much for them. Yeah. They managed to spit the saliva for the genetic testing, yeah, but with this stuff, I had an agreement with the shooting crew. We actually shoot in one place only. Yeah, so I can walk around the other places, chasing the guys where they go. If they go a little bit too far, yeah, so I know where to go to collect the feces. That's maybe not very scientific thing which you can publish on the paper, yeah, but I mean, this was our first encounter, and we already have now the results. We would like to come back to those guys later. Yeah, but and the idea is that we are searching for the microbes there which haven't been found in the normal humans. And okay, there are many biases. These guys are eating special food, but we wanted to find something special. For the results we have now, their microbiome is something like the microbiome of Indians who were also sampled in another study. So it's like, it's a little bit, I mean, it's not a little bit, it's totally different from the Western countries.
Do they speak Russian?
Yeah, they speak Russian. They were baptized in 1700. So you can basically, and they have their own languages. They have actually several nationalities there, and they keep their genetic purity very well. But they all have Russian names, which is quite funny. And actually we went to the museum, archaeological museum there, and it was like the standing of the deer hunters from 2,500 years ago. And it was all the same. It was all the same except for the diesel generator and the satellite dish. They have it in the evening, they start the generator, and they watch TV for 1 hour. Actually, the main guy, the father of the family, he watches TV in a very nice way. He doesn't read the letters over there, like CNN. He doesn't listen to the lady speaking because she's speaking whatever. Yeah, and he just watches what's on the background, and he's naming it like, oh, that's elk, that's a tree, that's a berry, that's a river. And he's just, so he's seeing the world, what's being out in the world through the news. Changes through age. Yeah, that's a nice story. Also a nice concept. That's newborns. Their microbiome actually very much dependent on the way of delivery. Yeah, if it was a cesarean section, then the children gets the microbes from the skin of his mother. If it was like vaginal delivery in normal mode, then he gets the vaginal microbiome, and they're totally different. And this vaginal or skin microbiome gets into kids' gut and starts to develop, like first development starts there, and it's like initial step. Then it really depends on the way you feed the baby, because I will show a little bit later, there is a way how the microbes from the guy of the mother, they get from the gut of the mother, they get to the gut of the baby also. So if you have this formula feeding, there is no chance to transport it. But anyway, as we live in a closer community, and we could have done this actually experiments before we came here, we also exchange the microbes in like daily situations. We take the same food, glasses and whatever. Yeah, no, even in Germany, this is possible, I think. And it's really changing in the childhood. The levels of different microbes are changing, and they are adopting, and your health is changing. You can have periods of high fever where the microbiome is also unstable. In adulthood, you have more stable microbiome, and it actually provides you with all the energy and stuff. Yeah, and in adulthood, it really corresponds to the food you eat. It's either you eat meat, you have special bacteria who digest it. If you eat a lot of dietary fiber from the plants, you have another bacteria who digest that. And overall, the more different bacteria you have, the more interesting it is for you. I mean, the more beneficial it is for your health. And what's interesting, we have been observing several elderly people. And we have been observing people with the heart failure. There is a condition where you're something like 30 or 40, and your heart starts to decline slowly. And even if you take the medicines, you will last something like 2, 3, 4 years. Without medicines, it's maybe 1 year. So actually your body is dying, but very slowly and very predefined. And also these people, they start to have the same microbiome as the guys who are very old. Yeah, and we have this idea that probably that's like a star of death. Yeah, the microbes, they know that you're going to die, or at least it's your time to die, and they are somehow transforming to produce more energy for you. And also we see the bacterial species there, which would actually allow to digest you very effectively when you die. Yeah, because most of the body decomposition happens from the microbiomes, from the microbes which are in the gut. Yeah, they rise up here through this tube, and then they eat your body all over. Yeah, and I've been involved in the Buddhist stuff a lot, and there are people who have mummified themselves through the meditation techniques, and I've seen the live guy like that. One of the technique they do there is they actually stop breathing. Yeah, and they hold either with a rope or something like that. They hold the air access there, and then they die. But before that, something like all the bacteria die out, and their body like remains untouched. That's parts of the same story. So there is a hypothesis, and it was scientifically tested, but still a hypothesis. I would say that there is a way how you transform through the human cells. They surround the bacteria and they bring it to the mammary glands, and then with the milk they go out to the baby. And it's also about the breastfeeding. I like this story that there is an evolutionary habit that child is like crawling around and putting everything into his mouth. That's really a habit which also exists in other animals. And then when there is a breastfeeding, the nipple, I think that's a proper word, not only for the movies, but also for anatomy. It is so tender that it actually sucks in the bacteria and all the main thing is bacteria around. And then for the next breastfeeding in a couple of hours, mother has a special like immune response. It actually calculates for the baby if the bacteria around are good or bad, and then it teaches through that, it teaches the child how to answer. So it's like the whole complex idea through evolution, how we communicate with the elderly, what's around us. We are small, crawling, like putting everything in mouth, giving it to them, and they are with their great immune system giving us the proper response. For sure, if you have everything super clean, yeah, then your immune system is not taught when it's young, yeah, but when you become old, this possibility to teach your immune system, it disappears. And then going back to immunity, actually, like this was era before gut microbiome, and then there was this observation that a lot of infectious diseases, they declined, yeah, and and it's due to the medicines and special procedures that we do in childhood. Yeah, some of them disappeared, like measles, you never see them, even in Russia. Yeah, tuberculosis, you can still find, yeah. And at the same time, in the same timeline, we have a lot of diseases which are associated with the immune system. Their number is growing, yeah. And there is this concept that because we were killing the bad bugs, we were also killing the good bugs, and now we have problems with all these new diseases. We had a nice project in Russia where we sampled the healthy population from cities and rural areas, and that's also a nice concept came out of that. What we found there, we had several major cities and several villages, and what we found through that, actually the microbiome of the citizen of a big city is the same in Russia, like Europe we had for comparison, and United States. And microbiome of the small villages is still different. Yeah, and we had this idea that probably that's a globalization. Also in every city you have all the same food, all the same preservatives for the food. Yeah, and this like works like a filter which doesn't let the like different bacteria to survive. It only filters the specific bacteria, and that's like our globalized bacterial population in the cities, but still in the villages. That was the idea and then we came up with the idea that we should go somewhere further. That's an extra slide we don't need. Actually, that's just a picture that we have a lot of chemicals and antibiotics around us, yeah? Food, water, land, animals, pets, plants even, everything is grown with chemicals, yeah? So there is no chance for us, yeah, whichever bio, or how do you call it here, bio, in Germany, like bio food you take, anyway you have air, anyway you have like water from the pipes, yeah, to this water you have something like flowing there, and even if they say that's a good water, this means that it's just, they have the limit of detection for the chemicals, yeah, and your bacteria are much more sensitive than all those technologies. Yeah, I'll skip a couple of slides. What we are doing as bioinformaticians, we are looking for we're analyzing a lot of data, for example, and right now, this is the picture from yesterday, guys sent me from the lab. There's like a graph of different diseases, and these diseases are linked on this major graph if they have the same bacteria which are associated with this disease, and there's like one part of the graph is a little bit enlarged. Yeah, and it's interesting that some of the diseases which are close are really understandable, that's in the same organ, and some of the diseases which are close are like, for example, like asthma, and the gut diseases is a strange connection, but we already know, yeah, that there is a connection between the microbiome and the asthma. So what we are like advancing further is to map all kinds of diseases and which kinds of bacteria are associated with that for the good or not for the good. Yeah, since there are some scientists here, I wanted to use the chance and invite them for the collaboration in the project that we have initiated recently. That's a project about lactose intolerance. That's quite popular stuff now in the world. Some people, they cannot digest milk, yeah, and there is a diagnosis, lactose intolerance, and doctor tells you, don't drink milk, yeah? But actually, this lactose intolerance could be quite different. Yeah, there is a special gene, yeah, in our gut, which actually produces something. Yeah, the ferment, how you call the ferment in the enzyme. Yeah, the enzyme which produces the enzyme which should digest the lactose from milk. And when we are childs, that's natural for us. We digest milk using this enzyme. But as we grow older, for some of the people, this enzyme doesn't exist anymore when they are older. Yeah, and then milk produces some effects. And effects could be different. You can have diarrhea as an extreme case, but you can also have the immune reaction to lactose. Yeah, and it appears that, like, we went deep to the also mining all the body of literature, and it appeared that there could be all kinds of cases. Yeah, people also say that you can even train tolerance of lactose, like through drinking little bit milk every day, and then your dosage can increase. So we are now engaged into the project with the several laboratories in Europe. If anybody wants to join, welcome. One more example, I remembered it here. That's an American company, IOBiome, and that's the guy on the right. This is the guy. He hasn't been washing himself for 15 years. Yeah, and the legend is like that he was watching horses, and the horses were running wild and they were sweaty, but they didn't smell. And he had a thought like, what's that? Why they don't smell? And then he saw that the horses are normally then bathing in the mud or in the dust. And then he thought probably there is a special bacteria which then eats up all the smelly stuff, all the sweat. And he actually took this bacteria out. There's a special bacteria which was not on his own skin, and he put it on his own skin. And then the theory is like that when we started to use the chemical washing stuff, yeah, we killed most of our like good microbes on the skin, and actually the guys which makes us smell when we sweat, these are the bad bacteria like Streptococcus or something. Yeah, they normally live on our skin. Yeah, and he said, but if you don't wash and you have these bacteria, then actually it will populate your skin, and after a while you won't have any smell, and he only washes with water or something like that. And that would be fun, but they are now global. You can buy this bacterial spray. They have a company, and what they are doing now, they are showing that actually the properties of your skin get better, yeah, since you don't use all these chemicals for washing. And also you can treat some of the diseases like eczemas and acne with that. Yeah, so you go back to the basics of how it was. Yeah, so basically that's also an idea that we are like technologically advanced human. We're using some of the technologies, and it brought some bad for us. Yeah, one of the projects we are now engaged in is the bacterial sampling of the underground stations of the underground network all over the world. It was first done in 2013 in New York, and they have a map of microbes in the New York underground. They found it interesting that, for example, for some stations where they have pizza delivery, they found the bacteria which were producing the cheese. Yeah, or some stations which were flooded during the flood somewhere like 30 years ago or something, they still have the marine bacteria living. So it's like that's like a quote from Dr. Mason, that they're like New Yorkers, then they can survive anywhere, and you see that New Yorkers, they perfectly survive in different conditions. Yeah. Huh? New Yorker stinks?
Yeah, the subway.
Ah, the subway stinks. Okay. Yeah, and that's like a man-made, yeah, that's a man-made landscape, the subway. There was no subway like trillions years ago, and they still live there. Yeah, like one last video, we did a crowdfunding in Moscow. We invited people to come to pay for the experiment, which was around like 70 euro, and they bring us their feces before, then we give them the rules how to eat more healthy, and in 2 weeks they bring us feces again, and we managed to get 250 people for that, and now the samples are in the lab, and yeah, probably I'll have a chance to describe the results later, but what we wanted to show that since you have a biological feedback, yeah, because I mean, with the food, that's also a good concept, that we eat and we don't understand it's bad, and the results are delayed, they're like in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, yeah? So we don't really feel that it was a bad food. It was just a hamburger, yeah? So we wanted to show that, like, using this biological feedback,
Ходить и помнить, как питаться, как быть бодрым с самого утра, почему меняется настроение.
Yeah, it's like asking all the questions. What's the sense of life? Is the milk good for me? You ask your questions often. We know each other for a long time because I am is you, and I'm microbe. I live in you, and we have 100 trillion of bacteria living in your gut. We are your microbiome. And you think, so many microbes, are they good or bad? Are they beneficial or harmful? I will answer to you. We are all different, and the good health is a good balance of those microbes. What can it influence? You can be sleepy or you can be creative. You can have allergy or you can have bad mood. You can smell bad and you can have a good immunity. And now the main thing is your food. Yeah, that's a factor which influences like your health most of all. Yeah, and you should be serious about that. You can get your own biofeedback about your health. Through our project, you can meet your microbes. You eat the normal diet, your microbes go to the lab. There, the scientists use the DNA, and they know what kind of balance you have. They give you recommendations what to eat, and in 2 weeks, you bring the microbes again to the lab. Yeah, in the final, we have like 2 reports for you, which show what has changed through eating the healthy food. Yeah, that's all. That's the story, and yeah, that's the last slide. I just wanted to leave you with that for a while. Yeah. Thank you.